Yeah, I'm just looking at this young lady. She's a very cute young lady. And I'm just so happy that she woke up eventually. And she talks about how she wanted so badly for her marriage to work. She went through so much in terms of trying to change herself. But this dude, Dusty, that's what I say, he is a Dusty, he wasn't willing to change. He cared more about her being his caretaker than him loving her as his partner and as his wife. Let's listen to her share her story. Okay.
Actually kept me really stuck in
Hold on a moment, guys.
me really stuck in my marriage for a long time.
Wait a minute.
Which is why
Okay.
this mindset actually kept me really stuck in my marriage for a long time, which is why I stayed for almost 9 years. Is I was like, you know what I gotta do? I gotta change myself. I gotta change my attitude. I gotta do the internal work. And so I did everything. I went to marriage counseling on my own. I went to marriage retreats on my own. I read every single marriage book that I could get my hands on. We were Christian, so I went to church. I went to sermons. I went to anything that had to do with marriage. I went to counseling on, like, group counseling on my own, because I was like, listen, and this is what I was told, and this is the toxic myth that a lot of women, especially people who grew up in the church, were told. You can't change another person, but you can change yourself. And so I changed myself, and I went to therapy, and I did all the work, and I got to a place where I was like, oh, this is actually emotional neglect, what he's doing to me. And it doesn't matter, and this took me years, mind you, because it was so ingrained. It doesn't matter how much work I do on myself, he's never gonna change. And I remember the day that I left him, because I was moving out of state. I literally was like, I tried to leave him once, and then I went back. I was like, I'm moving out of state. And we sat on the floor, and our knees were touching, and I looked him in the eye, and I said, if you tell me that you will go to therapy, if you tell me that things will at least change, they don't have to be better, but they will at least change, and that you will try, I will not leave this marriage, and I am still in it, and I will not stay. I had packed everything. I had shipped all of my stuff to the other state, and I said, I will take it all back if you promise me that you will at least try. And he looked at me and he said, no, I can't promise that. And what was I supposed to do? Keep changing to the point where I had evolved into a person that wasn't attracted to my husband, who was seeing me as only what I could give him in a figure that wasn't a partner, but it was just a caretaker role. I had changed and grown so much that I started to see all the ways that our marriage was so toxic, because I poured everything into this man. And I talk about it in this video. I was so in love. I was so in love that I couldn't imagine a life without him. And I did all of these mental gymnastics, backwards, forwards, sideways, changing myself to try to make it okay to be in a relationship with a man that absolutely, genuinely did not care whether I lived or died. And this is the kind of myth that keep people stuck in relationships. Well, you didn't work on yourself enough. You didn't change enough. And quite honestly, it's just toxic shit. And I hope that people know that no matter how much work you do on yourself, if that person isn't meeting you halfway, you deserve more.
I am just so proud of her that she didn't throw away her whole life. Like you hear a lot of these women bragging and thinking that it's a flex. I've been married for 20 years, 30 years, 40, 50 years. Yeah. But majority of the time out of that whole marriage, she was miserable. She was miserable. She was too afraid to fly on her own, put her trust in Jesus Christ. She just sat up here and threw away her whole life. You have to hear the stories, child. You have to hear the stories that I listen to of these women and how many times they have been cheated on, have been given STDs, how many times these men have abused them mentally, emotionally, financially, and now she's an old woman. I don't like to say old, but she's not youthful. She gave up her complete life trying to hang on to some dude, talking about some vows that you made to some man. You didn't make those vows to God. Secondly, God would never put one of his daughters with an abuser. And the Bible says what God puts together, let no one pull apart. Not what Satan the devil puts together. And Satan the devil is putting together most of these marriages, most of these relationships. That's why it's so important not to become unevenly yoked with non-believers. And if a person is really a believer in God and Christ, their behavior and they will act accordingly. Put it that way. But she said she did. She even said, I'll believe it if you tell me that you're going to change. That's the number one mistake women make. Believing what a man says. Listening with their ears instead of listening with their eyes. You know, you have a lot of men out here who don't even like women. They don't really like them. And you can always tell, and I try to educate my ladies out here how to tell whether this man is a misogynist and he really don't like women. Ask him what is his body count. Ask him, name any women that you've ever been faithful since you was what, 21? Let's say the legal age for everything, 21 years old. Has he ever been faithful to any woman, or does he get pleasure out of going from woman to woman, hurting women, trying to tear women down, trying to destroy women? Anytime you have a man who has a high body count and he has a history of cheating, that is a misogynist. And you need to know that. But like I said, I am just so very proud of this beautiful, beautiful diamond young lady, because she was smart enough to get out early while she still have her looks and she still have her youth about herself. And yes, she could do better. To me, better is to choose Jesus Christ as your husband. Because if you're really the best, why should you settle for less? But she probably wants children, which I don't understand why when you look at the way this world is. But people have a right to their views and for a right to their desires. But girlfriend, may Jehovah bless you. And I hope that she ends up being very, very happy. I love a smart woman.